Malaysia had the home advantage. Malaysia had the better players, a number of whom had played in the Asian Cup. We had none of that. But what Singapore had was a strong team spirit, a strong team ethic, and you can say, unlike Malaysia, no bad news apart from just Safwan being recalled for Selangor in the Thailand game. But otherwise, there were no distractions. Well, it's a goalless draw. Singapore survived to reach the second ASEAN Championship semi-finals in the past three editions, including the current one. Hats off to the Lions for a determined, disciplined, and focused performance. It may not be the best Causeway Derby in years, but Singapore came into Bukit Jalil Stadium, National Stadium, with a lot of focus, with a strong team spirit, and with a quiet confidence that we can do the job. And in spite of Malaysia throwing a lot of bodies, a lot of balls at us until the final 15 minutes when they panicked and faded away, and they even hit the post twice, we held on. I think that's what sum up Singapore's campaign in the ASEAN Championship under Sutomo Ogura. And I would say that overall, while we don't have the best team in several years, we miss the three Fandi brothers, but Sutomo Ogura has done a credible job in getting the team to work together for the cause. And where the veterans on the side, they put their experience on the front foot. Even Haris, who has not had the best of international form this year, when he came on, he did alright. Ultimately, it's about the whole team, not just your 11 players on the pitch, but also your bench. And I admit I was actually quite surprised when Singapore put their starting 11 with quite a number of experienced players. A bit eyebrow raising, especially when Nazrul Nazari, a veteran on the wings, although in recent years he has been playing as a fullback for club and even for country, he started. Shadan Sulaiman was there as well. There was no Kyoga Nakamura. Kyoga Nakamura was on the bench. Shakil, another veteran, was on the bench along with Haris. And you got Rian Stewart, who would otherwise have been a useful choice from the start. But I do admit Ogura and his coaching staff had some idea how they wanted to approach the do or die final Group A game away in front of 30,000 over fans, where the majority are from the host team, home side. Perhaps the indication on how Harimau Malaya played had an impact on the crowd, but that did not really matter. Whether it's 30,000 or 65,000 or the full 80,000, the crowd was always going to be vociferous. It's going to be loud, and they will do everything they could. But credit to Singapore for this game. They stuck to their game plan. They were robust, and as time went on, when those substitutions he threw in from Shawa Anwar at halftime to the introduction of Kyoga Nakamura and Rian Stewart in particular halfway through the second half, I will admit I did not expect that, but hats off to Ogura and the coaching staff for making this plan work seamlessly. While in contrast, probably the substitutions from Malaysia were a little bit more desperate. And I was pleasantly surprised that Singapore was still able to attack, especially in the final moments of the game, the final 15 minutes at added time. We were so focused enough that we knew that once the ball somehow never went into the Singapore net during that intense opening 15-20 minutes of the second half, where Malaysia threw everything at us, and we held on. The post saved us twice. Izwan Mahmud had a couple of good saves, and with that morale rising up, we were able to launch on a number of quick counter attacks that even caused problems at the other end in injury time. When on paper, Singapore was still a weaker team compared to this Harimau Malaya squad. But games are not won on paper. Games are hard won on the pitch. And Singapore, with their 16 players, including their 5 substitutes, they showed that tonight. They showed tenacity, they showed their composure, they showed their discipline, and they showed their thoroughness in playing the counter-attacking game. And I think those lessons that Singapore learned during their October training camp in Japan, where they were dealt heavily by 2 of the 3 J1 reserve teams during the tour, it helped them a lot. I know it is a regional tournament, but one thing about us, Singapore, is we are a tournament team. When we are up for it, we will take advantage of, let's say, the group rivals' weakness. Normally when, like in previous editions, when we reach the semi-finals, usually one of the leading nations that is above us in our group would somehow not be on form, and we were able to take advantage, including in the 2020 edition, which was held in 2021 in Singapore, where because of, like in that case, because of the goal in Myanmar was severely weakened then, and we were able to utilize the little advantages that we had and make it very big out of this. And where this is concerned, the one constant thing about Singapore in this campaign is we had a strong team spirit. Yes, technically we were weaker than before. Yes, physically we were weaker than before. But one thing that kept us going, and I think this has been true for even the Singapore teams of the past generations, is that spirit. I think sometimes football is a reflection of the nation, and in this case, tonight's performance perfectly reflects that. I mean, in John Duerden's book of Lions and Tigers, where he spoke about the footballing history or fortunes of the the Causeway rivals, I remember reading a part where even in the past century, where Singapore were often playing against Southeast Asian rivals, they all noted about something about Singapore is we were always counter-attacking, even when we had better, more technical players around, more skillful players around. As like we will be rather disciplined, we will stick to the play, and we will fight to prevail against the odds. And tonight perfectly reflects this sentiment. We came in perhaps a little favourites, but we were not. Malaysia had the home advantage. Malaysia had the better players, a number of whom had played in the Asian Cup. We had none of that. But what Singapore had was a strong team spirit, a strong team ethic, and you can say, unlike Malaysia, no bad news apart from just Safwan being recalled for Selangor in the Thailand game. But otherwise, there were no distractions and no issues. I think no major issues that erupted within the team, because in a tournament setting, a strong team spirit can make an average team a good one and prevail against a more talented team that when beset by internal issues causes fracture among the squad. And once there's a little fracture, it's game over. In every tournament, whether it's your ASEAN Championship or your Euros or the Asian Cup or even the World Cup, talented teams fall because of that fracture. And we took advantage of that fracture in a way. We didn't have the best performance. We didn't have, you can say, the more aesthetically pleasing performance like the 2 goals we scored against Thailand. And we had issues even in the Cambodia game, in the Timor-Leste game, until we scored 3 late goals. But as every game grew, we got a bit stronger. And And when it really mattered tonight, Singapore prevailed. Singapore passed the test. And now we are into our second semi-finals in 3 editions, and we are likely to face Vietnam. We don't know how far the Singapore can go in this edition, but already it is you can say by our standards, by Singapore's football standard, it has surpassed expectations, and we have actually in a way been able to, you can say, uplift the spirits for a while. So for this moment, I think Singapore football fans who went to Bukit Jalil, even though some were held up by the traffic, all the Singaporeans at Bukit Jalil will be happy with the result, will be happy with the outcome, and we still have one semi-final to look forward to, a home leg. Although I'm going to say this, because the National Stadium will be used for JJ Lin concert, for the opening leg of the JJ Lin World Tour, we are likely to play at Jalan Besar or at Bishan Stadium. Either way, Singapore will do its utmost to make its home advantage count in every way. And given our opponents are likely to be Vietnam, we need that home leg result to make it count. Once again, congratulations to the Singapore national team, to Sutomo Ogura for his clever tactics tonight, for the discipline that the Lions displayed throughout, the fearlessness, the tenacity, that is still ultimately Singapore football in international stage. And once again, in displaying this kind of display, we showed that Singapore, when we are up for it, we are a tournament team in the ASEAN Championship. Although I also hope one day we can also do it again if we ever reach the Asia Cup finals. Evening.